Well, thank you so much for having me share this valuable information with you today. So, this is January 28th, and I am going to be doing an iridology report for Heather. And tonight, I want to go over a few basics on iridology, and then we're going to start with the right eye. So, I wanted to cover a few basic areas. So, we're going to talk about your genetic eye color, the stage of lymph, the highest area of focus, and your genetic constitution. So, starting with your genetic eye color is brown. There are only two real colors of eyes. We've got blue or brown. We are seeing hazel eyes or biliary eyes in biracial individuals. But when we see a hazel or green eye in a Caucasian individual, that is an indication of stage of lymph or lymphatic congestion. So here your eye is is brown. Um, Next area of focus I want to talk about is your stage of lymph. I would say your stage of lymph is acute. Not a whole lot of lymph. The lymph is the like the white areas of the eye. I'm kind of curious about this, if this is from the camera, the photo, or if it's lymph. But we can talk about that here in a little bit. Next area I want to talk about is your genetic constitution. So the constitution is based on how close together the fibers of your eyes are. So your fibers are very close together, which means that you have a strong genetic constitution. You can see there's outside of this area, there is very little, separation, like no separation of the fiber. So that's great. That means that genetically you have a very strong gene code, which is awesome. And then wanted to go ahead and talk about the highest area of focus. So I'm going to bring up a few things on your eye tonight. I want to talk about the shape of your eye, as well as these markings on the inside of your eye, these markings here, and then I want to talk about the color of your sclera. So those are going to be the biggest areas of focus. I do want to mention that the eye is broken up into three different regions, or four different regions, excuse me. So we've got your stomach and bowels here, and then the top third of the eye represents the head, the middle section represents the neck and the chest, and the bottom is your lower extremities and your kidneys and your adrenal glands. So let's start with the stomach and bowel area. Okay, so this is called your autonomic nerve ring. You can kind of see it going in and out here. There is quite a bit of dark pigmentation, and I imagine that is from what you've experienced with the chemical toxicity. When we see real dark, that's an indication of toxins settling in that tissue. So that just is not surprising, especially when we compare it to your other eye. But here we've got your autonomic nerve ring, which is the outer edge of your bowels. So you see that kind of moves in and out. It's kind of it's protruding out here. It's very difficult for me to actually see any distinct delineation. If we look at your other eye, we can really see it distinctively. And so I'm just going to talk about the inner portion of the bowels, because that's what I can see best. So we've got these little tunnels here. These are called radial solaris, and this is an indication of toxins in the bowels. And when we see them moving out into different areas of the eyes, this is an indication of like a toxic tunnel. And so the toxins will flow out of the bowels and then land in a specific tissue, gland, or organ. Okay. The next thing I want to talk about is the stage of lymph here on the outer area. You've got these rings, okay? These are called nerve rings. And this is an indication of nervous system stress, and then they're covered in white. So that's lymphatic congestion in the nervous system. And then when we've got these rings, that's an indication that nervous system stress has settled into the tissues. Those nerve rings are going around almost the entire eye. So nervous system stress in tissues all around your body. The next thing I want to point out are these little dots. These are called crypts. Here, you've got two here. There's one teeny tiny one here. And I think another one here. They're so small. But these are usually genetically inherited from past generations. So it could even, be like 4 generations past. But this is an indication of tissue degeneration where there's no nutrients or oxygen or blood getting to that specific tissue, gland, or organ. So we can see there are some little ones here, 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 here. I also want to point out this hazy arc over the top of your eye. You can even see if I zoom out zoom out that your shape of your iris is even like a football because that is kind of covering it. And so what this is an indication of is a skin ring, so low oxygen in this area of the body and the skin not properly eliminating. So like I would do like head massage, dry skin brushing, these kind of things to kind of get that lymph moving. And when we see that, it's an indication of slow moving lymph below the skin. Okay. So let's go ahead and pull up an iris overlay, and that's going to show us where these little crypts are and where these radial solaris are. Again, the crypts are these little tiny dots. The radial solaris are these kind of toxic tunnels moving out from the bowel walls. Okay, I'm going to just enlarge this. All right, so let's start at 12 o'clock here. We've got a dark kind of stain. When we see those dark stains, and you can see it throughout here, but this one's really dark. This is an indication of chemical toxicity affecting that particular tissue, gland or organ. And that's in the brain, hypothalamus or the thalamus. It's right here. And the area that is affected is like your energy, your midbrain, and your motor coordination. Okay. I'm just going to bring that down just a little bit so we can see. We've got a little crypt here too. You can see it, it's barely visible, but that's in the pineal gland. And then we've got what's called, this is like a closed lacuna. So that's where there's just some tissue weakness. And then we've got these radial solaris coming out here. So I'm just going to pull up that transparency. So tissue weakness in the sinus area. And then those radial solaris are just kind of going out towards the sinuses, the jaw, the nose, the eyes. Just kind of landing in this area here. So that is an indication of parasitic activity. They're not very deep or dark. I know you've been doing your work. So let's go ahead and talk about this one here and where that lies. That's on the cervical spine. You had asked me to look at the liver. We do see a teeny tiny one here on the liver. See, this is the liver. And again, I'll just zoom that in so you can see. Very, very small. And then we've got one here too. Go ahead and pull that transparency up. That's in the groin area. And then I'm just so curious, do you have this white misshapen feature on your eye, or is that a reflection? If it's not a reflection and you do have this white kind of area, that's lymph. And then we've got these lines here that's called transversal. It's scarring in the tissue, and that's from acidosis. So like really congested lymph causing scarring in the tissue. But then again, I don't know if that's the reflection from your camera or if that's the actual marking on your iris. So you could tell me that. That would be helpful. All right. So I do want to just point out one other thing. Your sclera, which is the white of your eye, is very red. I don't know if that is because you're just tired, but this is an indication of acidosis in the body. When we see a lot of red like this, that's acidosis. So an imbalance in the pH. All right, let's go ahead and go down to your left eye. All right, again, we can see that red here. All right. So the right side of the body is your father's genetic inheritance. Your mother's side is on the left eye. Okay. Your eyes are so different based on your story. Very, very interesting. Okay, so highest area of focus here. I'm going to point out a couple things first. So we're going to look at your pupil. If I zoom out, you can see by comparison that your pupil is rather large. Okay, that's an indication of adrenal weakness and nervous system stress. It's just kind of being in this state of fight or flight. We also see that your pupil is not perfectly round. There's a little bit of an angular thing going on here. It kind of poofs out, kind of squeezed in here. This is an indication of spinal alignment, so a really good chiropractic adjustment could help to bring that back into a place of balance. And then I want to talk about your bowels. So you can see here, we've kind of got this distinct edge on some of your bowel walls. Here, here, here. That's what's called an angle of Fuchs. It's an indication of low nutrient absorption and slow moving toxic bowels. We've got quite a few of these, radial solaris coming out. Some big ones here. This is a lacuna. There's another lacuna here. This almost looks like a diverticula pocket. So just some pocketing it's the I get confused on which side. So the small intestine kind of poking out there. All right, so those radial solaris are going up through the pituitary gland and the pons up towards the brain, and again towards your let's see, let me just zoom that in a little bit. Oops, wrong zoom. All right, so you can see that's going up into your motor coordination area, up through the pituitary gland. And this is in charge of all of your electrical signals in the body. So the pituitary is the master gland. So Yeah, indication of parasitic activity. And then we've got this lacuna here. This is an indication of low nutrient absorption in that tissue. So that's in, you can see that's in your inner ear area, kind of in that inner ear area. And then sinuses, we've got those lacunas in the sinuses here. All right, and then we're just gonna go move around the clock. I like to say this is 12 o'clock, and then we've got 3 o'clock, 6 o'clock, 9 o'clock. And we've got these nerve rings here. Nervous system stress settling into the tissues. Then we've got this, this is low oxygen. It's called a scurf rim. And this is an indication of skin detoxification issues. Sometimes when it's thicker like this, there could be a deeper issue of like psoriasis or eczema, rashes, acne, that kind of thing. And that there's a toxic and metabolic waste accumulating under the skin, in the skin. So the skin is one of the largest elimination pathways. And so I would just say avoid like tight fitting clothing, do some dry skin brushing on a regular basis before you hop in the shower, and hot and cold showers, hydrotherapy, saunas, that kind of thing. I know with your nervous system repair, that may or may not be possible, but it is actually very amazing doing that hydrotherapy. It really gets things moving. I want to point out this guy down here. Okay. So that is going into your diaphragm and your upper abdomen. So that is it's an open lacuna that's coming out from the bowel walls. So it's this like poofing out into the diaphragm. So that's low oxygen and low nutrient absorption in that area. We've got one here. This is another like more of a close. This lacuna is closing. So that's an indication of tissue weakness and low nutrient absorption in that particular tissue. And this is right over your adrenal glands, right through your adrenal glands and going into the thigh and the hip. You can see it just like brushes on the adrenals. Let's see. Actually, it's probably more on the adrenals. My overlay is a little crooked here. So you can see it's right through the adrenals here. And then we've got another one, like a little radial solaris going into the adrenals. Okay. There's a small crip here. I'll point that out. There's another small one here. Point out those specific tissues. So right bordering the liver. This is in the thoracic and thoracic spine. And let's see, where was that other one? Here. All right. So that's the bronchioles. Let's see what else coming up. Yeah, we can see these nerve rings even going up into the skin, brain. This diagonal line here is what's called the transversal, and this is an indication of scarring from lymphatic congestion. So highest area of focus is the bowels, skin, proper alignment of the spine, and yeah, adrenals, that wide open pupil, and then you can see that adrenal stuff going on down here. So I think that's all I've got for you. And I'm welcome to any input, any feedback. Feel free to ask me any questions. And I just really want to thank you for this opportunity to share this information with you tonight. I hope that it's a blessing to you and it gives you some insight to your healing journey. So thank you so much. And I hope you have a blessed evening.